Good. I think we are live. Great. So if you joined the live session, then please write in the comments where you are from. So please just state the country and the city and say hi. But I think we are good to go. Good. Then let's start. So, do you want to become a great problem solver in management consulting? Then this video is for you. Hi everyone, my name is Johannes Niari and welcome to this channel. Welcome to Mastering Consulting. And on this channel, I want to help you to develop the necessary skills to become a great and successful management consultant while at the same time living a balanced private life. And today we have a great and very interesting topic. We will talk about problem solving in management consulting. And the reason why I want to talk about this today is that I had a conversation last week with one of my mentees. And this person was doing an internship at that time at BCG. And we had a discussion about problem solving because the person received the feedback that he could improve, or that there was a kind of some room for improvement in the person's problem solving approach. And my mentee was quite confused because, I mean, like if you received the feedback to become a better problem solver, I mean, what would you do? I think this is not a very concrete feedback because problem solving in general, I think it's a very, kind of fuzzy word in management consulting. So it was very similar to me at the beginning when I started out in management consulting. So I knew that that in management consulting, problem solving is one of the key elements. And I mean, if you read the book The McKinsey Way or The McKinsey Mind, um, almost the whole book is about problem solving. But for me, especially as a junior consultant back then, it was very difficult to understand what good problem solving means. Because, I mean, let's be honest, especially at the beginning, you spend most of your time working in Excel models, doing PowerPoint presentations, doing research and stuff like that. So it's very difficult to understand the overarching process behind that. So the overarching problem solving process. And for me, as I said, the solving process was more like a theoretical construct and was very hard and not very tangible for me. But this changed radically back then, a couple of years ago, when I had an appointment at the doctor. So I had a kind of terrible headache a couple of years ago, and I decided to go to the doctor and to do something about it. And this experience changed my whole understanding about problem solving in management consulting. So when I went to the doctor, the first thing, after sitting in the waiting room, of course, that the doctor did was to ask me a couple of questions. And I just answered the question, and for me, they seem not to follow a certain structure. They seem more like some general questions. And after asking some questions, he said, okay, we need to do the following tests. And then he performed a couple of tests. It was a blood test and some other tests where he used his very fancy equipment that I know nothing about. So he did some tests and then he said, okay, I need to send the data to the laboratory and I will receive more information about the test results in a couple of days. So a couple of days later, I came back and he, or his laboratory, had performed an analysis of the data from the tests. And he said, okay, Johannes, it's very clear. These are the symptoms. This is what the data says. And this is what you actually have. So this is your problem. And he also gave me some medication to tackle this problem. So why am I telling you this story? I'm telling you the story because this was like an eye-opener for me. because I finally understood, or I finally experienced, what a good problem solving process is all about. I mean, think about it. If you go to the doctor, you have a problem and you want to go to that doctor in order to receive a certain solution. And it's very similar in management consulting. You could also say that management consultants are like doctors for companies. And if you compare what a doctor does and if you compare what a management consultant does, you will see that the several steps that both persons perform, or both professions perform, that these steps are very similar. So let's go through it. So as I just said, step number one at the doctor was that he asked me some questions. And he does that in order to kind of develop some hypothesis or to structure my problem so that he better understands what he has to do. And in consulting, it's very similar. The first step in management consulting is always to understand the problem and to develop certain hypotheses. The second step that the doctor does or did was to perform some tests, so to collect some data. And in management consulting, it's also very similar. After we develop some hypothesis, we send out a data request, we do some interviews, and we collect data to test our hypothesis. The next step that the doctor did was to send the data to the laboratory. And in the laboratory, they did some analysis. And in consulting, again, it's very similar. After we collect some data, we have to perform an analysis. And the fourth step at the doctor was that he recommended, or that he kind of told me what the problem was. So he made a conclusion from his analysis, and he also proposed a solution. And in consulting, it's also very similar. After we run the model, after we analyzed and crunched the data, we kind of can say what the problems are, what the measures or levels of improvement are, and we can make a recommendation. So again, as you see, the process, if you go to a doctor, and the process of being a management consultant is very, very similar. And the whole process, the whole problem-solving process, consists of mainly 4 steps, as I just explained. So just to summarize, so the first step is to make hypothesis and to give the problem a structure. This is step number 1. The step number 2 is always to gather some data. Step number 3 is to do a certain analysis, and step number 4 is to come to a solution and to communicate that solution. And just to make it even more clear, so let's take a typical consulting project. Let's say the company or one of your clients asks you to improve their EBITDA, so to improve their profitability. So what do you usually do? So you usually start with asking some questions to understand the situation of the company, and you try to develop some hypothesis what the reason for a decreased profitability is. So after that, you collect some data. So you ask for the financial statements, then you ask maybe for some sales data, then you do some interviews to get a better understanding of the whole situation. This is step number 2. And in the third step, you build, for example, an Excel model, you build a business case where you test certain assumptions, where you try to crunch the data a little bit. And in the fourth step, you have the final presentation in the steering committee where you finally present your solution. So as you see, the 4 steps, developing a hypothesis, collecting data, analyzing the data, and coming to a solution and communicate it, are always the same in management consulting. And the interesting thing is that you can apply this 4-step process in a very big context. So you can apply this process for projects, but you also can apply this process for smaller tasks, like doing research, for example. And coming back to the question from the beginning, so where one of my mentees was asked to improve the problem-solving process or the problem-solving skills. So what can you actually do to improve your problem-solving skills? So it's very simple. Improving your problem-solving skills means, first of all, to always apply those 4 steps. Okay, so what I see at many junior consultants is that they come to a kind of conclusion, or that they work on the final presentation without even doing the analysis first. or that they, for example, crunch the data without formulating any hypothesis. And this, the problem with this is that usually they work in a totally wrong direction. Okay, so in order to improve your problem solving skills, step number one is that you follow those 4 steps. And step number 2 is that you can try, or you should try, to become an expert in each of those 4 steps. Okay, so this means that over time you get a very good understanding of how you can structure problems, about how to develop hypotheses. You also get very good in collecting data, so you learn all the interview techniques, you know all the databases where you can get the data from. You also can become very good in data analysis, so that you know how to build models, that you know how to, use Excel, that you know how to work with Python and stuff like that. And step number 4 is that you become a great communicator. Okay, this does not only mean that you can produce great PowerPoint slides, but also that you become very good in storytelling. Okay, so in order to improve your problem solving skills, make sure that you first follow all of those 4 steps all the time, and also focus on becoming a real expert in all of those 4 steps. So I hope this brought value to you, and I hope this made it a bit more clear what problem solving in management consulting is all about. So the next time if someone asks you to improve your problem solving skills, always remember the story from the doctor that I just told you. I think this is a very easy to remember story, and that illustrates very well what problem solving is all about. So if you like the video, then please subscribe to this channel. As I said in the beginning, this is part of my daily lesson learn series. So I will do daily lessons learned, daily live sessions, and I will upload them afterwards, where I talk about my experiences within the last 3 years as a management consultant, and where I also talk about my current experiences as a management consultant on my current project, for example. So with that being said, if you have any questions, then please leave a comment. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell. So thank you for watching. Talk to you tomorrow. Goodbye, Johannes.